You track every macro and hit failure on every lift, showing up with relentless consistency. But despite the effort, your progress is collapsing. Your muscles look flatter than they did a month ago, and you're noticing more hair in the shower drain than on your scalp. You keep showing up because each session provides an immediate chemical reward, a surge of dopamine that feels like success. But that feeling is misleading, masking the fact that you've begun prioritizing the rush of the workout over the actual markers of physical health. This is the stimulus adaptation trap. Most athletes treat the gym as the place where growth happens, but the gym is actually where you inflict cellular trauma. The actual physiological progress only occurs during the quiet hours outside of your routine. Fitness culture encourages us to ignore the systemic red flags our bodies send when they can't keep up. We overlook brittle hair, persistent joint pain, and chronic fatigue, viewing them as necessary sacrifices for the goal. This happens because your brain's emotional center can effectively override your rational judgment. It clings to slogans like "no pain, no gain" to provide a narrative for the damage, even as your biology reaches its breaking point. The gym has reached a point of diminishing returns. You are no longer applying discipline. You are caught in a cycle where your routine is actively working against your biology. When extreme training is never balanced by recovery, your primitive brain misinterprets the constant strain. It sees an ongoing predator attack. Your system responds by flooding your bloodstream with a massive spike of stress hormones, elevating cortisol to prepare for the threat. This chronic cortisol elevation has a direct, destructive impact on your hair follicles. It shortens the anagen, or growth phase of the hair cycle, causing your hair to feel thinner and fall out faster than it can regrow. As the stress persists, your body releases a second survival hormone, neuropeptide Y, or NPY. NPY is particularly effective at protecting the body during a perceived crisis. It causes immature baby fat cells to rapidly mature into full-grown fat cells, aggressively storing visceral fat to ensure you have energy reserves to survive the attack. Your body's attempt to survive the trauma of overtraining actively compromises your physical goals. In its desperate effort to stay alive, it is dismantling the very aesthetic you are trying to build. This survival mode is even more visible at the muscular level. When you skip the necessary recovery window, you leave your body's amino acid pool completely empty. Muscle growth is controlled by the mTOR enzyme, which functions like a biological ignition switch. It must be activated to start the process of muscle protein synthesis. Without a steady supply of amino acids from recovery and nutrition, the mTOR switch remains locked in the off position. All muscle repair and growth come to a complete halt. Your body then begins a process of emergency triage. Vital organs like the heart and liver have a constant need for protein to function, and they take priority over your skeletal muscle for any remaining nutrients. To keep those vital organs running, your biological system begins stripping the structural proteins from your own muscles. It is an act of internal cannibalization, dissolving the fibers you work to build to provide emergency fuel for the rest of the body. Ignoring the biological necessity of rest halts the process of hypertrophy. Instead of building new tissue, your system begins to disassemble its own muscle fibers to sustain life. Breaking this cycle requires a fundamental shift in behavior. You have to step away from extreme training volumes to break the trauma bond and allow your neurochemistry to stabilize. You must prioritize the biological fact that the recovery period is the most important part of the growth cycle. The quiet adaptation window is where the work you did in the gym is actually realized. Recovery starts with stabilizing your internal environment. Proper hydration and stress management lower your cortisol levels, which allows your natural testosterone production and insulin sensitivity to return to healthy levels. This requires a nutritional shift toward foods high in leucine. This specific amino acid acts as the trigger for the mTOR pathway, signaling the body that it is safe to resume protein synthesis. You also need the specific building blocks for structural repair. As this nutrition guide details, ingredients like almonds supply the vitamin E and biotin necessary to reinforce hair thickness and counteract the thinning caused by high cortisol. The final requirement is deep sleep. This is the only state where the body naturally releases human growth hormone, or HGH, which is essential for the final repair of your tissues. Long-term somatic optimization depends on the quality of the repair phase. You achieve a peak physical state by prioritizing the healing processes that follow the work.